Hello and welcome to today's video. So this time we'll be having a look through a small collection of vintage Albatross books that I picked up in the recent barn find. So sit back, relax, and let's get to it. Okay, and so I've just dug these out, and these Albatross books, I have to say there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 22, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 12, 30. There's 35 of them, so not loads to go through. And they are in, well, as you can see, in some cases a bit of a sorry old state. Now this one has still got its dust wrapper, which if we take it off, it may redeem the book underneath, because that dust wrapper is quite rough. It's all been taped in that. The first thing you notice about these, the dust wrappers are so thick. These books were so well made, you honestly, you can't believe it, compared to books that would come later on. These ones weren't designed to be sold in the UK. They were British language to be sold on continental Europe. And it's always been my belief that Alan Lane, who went on to found Penguin Books, was in Europe in 1933, 1934, and he saw these books while he was on holiday, and he realised that there was nothing like it in the UK. Also, one of his friends, Agatha Christie, who we know they were friends, and the Bodley Head, where Alan Lane worked, to publish Christie's first 5 books. Agatha Christie herself had a dozen books printed in Albatross. They're the most collectible ones of all, and we've actually got one of those to show you today, which I'm looking forward to. And I think he said, well, look, I'm going to launch a 6-penny series in the UK. And I'm convinced that that's the true origin of Penguin Books. And it was down to these lovely, lovely Albatross books. That's my personal opinion. It's not the popular opinion. It's not the opinion of the publisher, who would love the romance that he'd visited Agatha Christie in Torquay, and he was sat at Exeter Station, and he just sort of magically couldn't find anything to read at the station. So he thought, I know, I'll make books the same price as a packet of cigarettes, which was 6p. Not quite the case. No, publishing decisions like that aren't just made like that. I mean, I'm sorry, it's a romantic story, and it's great for the brand, but it's not really true, in my humble opinion. And even though they put a plaque up at Exeter St David's Station saying this is where they were formed, I would, and most collectors would agree, that their origins were in these Albatross books. And you'll soon see why. They're the same shape. They came in wrappers. The books are colour-coded, just like the early Penguins, with different genres having different colours. And they came in dust wrappers. I'm sorry, but the similarities are far too great. Obviously, Albatross didn't really survive when the Nazis came to power, because these books were also sold in Germany. They put a stop to Albatross. They did try and come back post-war with just a handful of books in the same style, but they never really took off. But that has, I think, saved that one as good as we can possibly get it, to be honest. I didn't see any markings inside, but it is going to take a little bit of time to dry. Sometimes these are reprints, so this one isn't a reprint from what... Oh, it says 1948. So 1948, and if it's number 89, this is most definitely a reprint, not one of the originals. So we'll pop that to one side over there. Right, let's have a look at this one then. Elizabeth and Leicester. See, this is in a wrapper, but the wrapper is much, much better condition. It's just got a little bit of page edge browning. Little P on the back there, so let's get that. Don't know what that was there for. Yeah, I don't think I've got this one. Oh, it's got one of the lovely cards. We'll have a look at that in a minute. Those cards are great. It's to join sort of the Albatross Club. See, that wrapper is beautiful. That's about as good as they ever come, really. Yes, it's got a bit of fading, but it's still very, very nice. Yeah, the cards that come with these cards come in different colours. And dear reader, if you've not yet chosen that special book you want me to publish, would you not care to select it yourself? A free copy is sent of every book published at a reader's suggestion or whoever proposed it first. On receipt of your card, you will be informed if the book in question has been suggested already, and if not, it will be read at once. Hoping yours will be the first suggestion. I remain yours sincerely, the Albatross. Look at that. 2 Rue Chanois in Paris. There we are. Friends of the Albatross. So there's this one, and there is another card which sort of lists the different series. So that's the sort of the 2 variations that I know of. I've never ever seen an Albatross catalogue, though I have seen them mentioned. This one's absolutely beautiful, actually. Yes, a later one, 1947. So this was their post-war revival period. We haven't seen an early pre-war one yet. In total, and I'm trying to think if I've actually got a list of these somewhere. I think I have got a list of Albatross. There are, I think there's about 400. So not something that you're going to pick up straight away, and they really, really do not show up very often anymore. They really don't. Now, the explanation of the colour scheme. So blue was love stories, green, travel and foreign peoples, grey, plays, poetry, collected works, orange, short stories, humorous, satirical works, purple was biographies and historical, red, adventure and crime, silver, anthologies, and yellow was psychological novels and essays, etc. So that's the little breakdown of the Albatross colours. But as I said, different colours for different genres, just the same as Penguin. Now I've just realised that this one is in such a nice dust wrapper. If we were to rub the edges whilst it's in the wrapper, we risk damaging the wrapper. So I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to give this one a rub here in the studio. It's another beautiful day today. I'm doing this on a Sunday morning, and it's early. It's only just gone sort of 8:30ish. I've dug these Albatross out from the books from the barn find because I like to mix it up a bit. So I do a Penguin one, then I'll try and do something other than like Penguin main series books, like the Puffins or another Penguin series, or like these Albatross books. And or I've got Touchnitch as well, which is another early vintage publisher. Right, 9-penny Flute. This is one I don't recognise, number 348. So the wrapper on this one is very beaten up, as you can see, but it's not so beaten up that I wouldn't want to keep it. This one here, I'm not actually going to keep that wrapper. That is too far gone. But this one here, I'm not going to keep it on the book because it really detracts from it. But I am going to keep it in my box of dust wrappers. I've got a little, I've got like a box, like a shoe box where they can be laid out flat. And I've got loads of vintage book jacket wrappers. Now, let's see, can this be saved? This does look a bit rough. What was that? You get all sorts in these sorts of things. A bit of tissue paper or rice paper. Yes, there's a few pages that are folded round the wrong way. We've got a bit of pencil, but I think just about, it's not going to be the finest example, but it is going to be one worth saving. When you think, really, the copies that we're seeing would have all been bought in continental Europe, in a lot of cases before the war, sometimes post-war, and then they've had to make their way to the UK. I guess this was early holiday reading, wasn't it, you know? So we'll try and sort it out. This is a pre-war one. This is December 1937. And got a few concertinaed few concertina corners here, but worth persevering on this one. I'm pretty sure it's not one I've got. I've had at least 2 people contact me and say, oh, I saw that there was some Albatross books in the barn find. And I've said, well, look, I've not really had a chance to sort it. I've been concentrating on the penguins. But it has sort of spurred me on. I don't think I'm going to have that many doubles because I haven't got that many Albatross myself. I've got maybe 150. I think, and that's, with picking them up over 20 years. I've never really actively gone out looking for them, but as they've come my way in collections, I've always grabbed them, and I never tend to get that many, to be honest, but they're just in the office next to where my wife works, so they'll be, once I've cleaned these, they'll be very, very easy for me to actually check which ones I'm missing. I do also have a catalogue of them all as well. I've got them all listed and typed up on my computer. Now, this one here, I do, obviously the spine's coming away. I think I'm going to put a little bit of glue down there just to reattach that, and then I think we'll have to just leave it at that. I don't want to take the whole cover off because it's too fragile, and doesn't actually, near the top of it's still secure. It's just down the bottom here, so I'll just re-glue that, and hopefully that won't look too bad. I mean, it's not the best copy in the world by any means. It's just not. But it's evidently been read a few times, which is okay. That's what they were designed for. And when you think the age of these are even older than the penguins. This one here is like 90 years old now. The fact that it's a paperback and it's survived at all sometimes is a bit of a miracle, isn't it? Certainly the barn find owner, he would have had it in his collection for potentially 40 years. He hasn't collected for the last 20 years, but prior to that he did collect from 85 to 2005. So that's when his collection was picked up. Right, it's not great, it's not perfect, but it won't actually look too bad on the shelf. Right, Napoleon's Mother. Now there's no dust wrapper on this one, number 259. (1935), so it's a pre-war one. That's good. There is a little 20 on the inside front cover there. I don't like it when they're in this spot on the inside cover. It's not a great place to put a price. But apart from that, it just needs a little bit of gluing. Once again, just in the edge of the spine here. Not uncommon on Albatross books. They do benefit greatly from re-gluing. There we are. And we've certainly, the last few videos, we've certainly been getting through the old glue, haven't we? We really have. But that's okay. Right, that's about as good as we're going to get that one. So that needs to go into the polishing pile, or the brushing pile. The Surgeon's Casebook, 379. Another one that's pretty tatty, to be honest. Oh, look at that, it's got writing all at the back. I'm afraid to say, and it's not a rare crime one or anything like that, that I'm afraid to say is just too far gone. That's too many faults on that one, I'm afraid, which is a shame, but that's how the cookie crumbles with these. Right, Eyeless in Gaza, Aldous Huxley. I think this is one I do own. Let's take it out of these. The very, very tatty and beaten up dust wrapper. Underneath it looks quite nice. The wrapper itself is horrendous. I mean, it is all there, but it's really badly taped and stuff. It's not worth keeping with the book, in my opinion. But on the face of it, that doesn't look too bad. It's an extra volume. It's like a Penguin double volume. Something else that Penguin pinched from the Albatross was the double-sized volume. All right, it's got a little 50p inside. Yep, this is a pre-war one, 1938. Good author as well, Aldous Huxley, good author to have. I've read a couple of his and they were all right. And apart from that, that's about as good as we're going to get. Pretty nice spine on that one as well, so that's all right. Right, oh, here we are. Here is the Agatha Christie. So I'm just doing these in random order, and here it is. ABC Murders, number 159. So these are by far the most collectible of the Albatross Continental Library. I've picked them up, all the ones I've got, and I've got about 5 now. I've picked up in collections. I picked one up at the London Paperback Show in a wrapper for £10, which I was really, really pleased from. That was from a dealer who'd come over from the Netherlands, so that was good. This one, obviously, quite the low-grade specimen. I honestly don't know if it's one I've got, and I am genuinely curious, so I'm going to dig out my list in a sec. It's got a little signature in there. Sadly, not Agatha Christie's. Yeah, 1937. And I suspect that Alan Lane visited Agatha Christie in Torquay, and he would have seen these, because it was around the right time. He would have seen the books that she'd already had published in Albatross on her shelf, because being the author, she would have had copies sent to her. Yet there's actually nothing we can do on that to repair it. It is just a rough old copy, but I'm very, very curious to see if I've got it. So I'm just going to look up in my on my phone here. I've got my list of stuff. Here's my Albatross library, and it's number 159. So have I got it? I haven't. It's one I've not got. The next nearest one I've got is the 121, which is Murder on the Orient Express. So that, I'm really pleased. It's a Christie I haven't got. Even though it's low grade, I really, really don't mind, because it's better than not having one at all. So great stuff. That's it. That's good news. Right, this one seems quite nice condition. The Asiatics, even in a wrapper, it's not bad. Now that wrapper it's got a stain on it, but underneath the book has been it's really beautifully produced. These, that's a really robust copy of that. This wrapper is not bad. It's got that piece at the top, which is such a shame, because on the whole, the wrapper is really nice. But with that stain, I shall keep this wrapper, but I'm not going to put it on the book, because the book just looks so nice without the wrapper. Just look at that. That's going to look beautiful on the shelf, isn't it? Don't know much about the actual book itself here. And I'm wondering if there's anything. I've got a bit of page edge foxing. I wonder if there's any like little inserts. It would be nice, wouldn't it? It looks like it's a sort of book that would have an insert, like one of their bookmarks or the cards, but there isn't, sadly. Yeah, 1947, so it's a post-war one. Look at that, beautiful. That's really nice. Okay, next one here in a wrapper, House of Defence, Elizabeth Berridge. Now that tiny little bit of the wrapper folded over there. Let's have a look. Yeah, this is a later one, 579, but just this bottom of the wrapper here, it's all there by the look of it. Yeah, it just sort of needs flattening out. Now, quite a few of the Albatross books that I've got in my collection have actually been bagged up. I've gone through and bagged them. And when you bag them, it does, of course, keep the dust wrappers in the folds and that are kept in place, so the actual dust wrapper is kept flat. So we've flattened this dust wrapper out now, but I just need to be super careful with it. But let's sort the rest of the book out first. Very, very clean and bright. Look at that. That's beautiful, isn't it? This is a post-war one, I believe. Look at it. Beautiful books to read. They really are. Yeah, 1947. So it's post-war one. The higher numbers, sort of over 500 or so, are post-war. A little 30p in there to get rubbed out. And as expected, these Albatross books are taking somewhat longer than I thought. I thought, have I got enough books to do an hour's worth of video? So I've actually got a run of King Penguin in reserve. Let's give this a brush. But I don't think we're going to have a chance to get to the King Penguins in this video. We'll do them separately, because that's a big old pile of about 40 King Penguins, I think. Once again, in quite the varying conditions, to be honest. Right, so let's make sure this goes in now without any bends to it, like so. And then we just have to remember that little bit at the bottom of the spine there just needs to be careful with that one, but that one can go with the dust wrappered ones. And that's absolutely beautiful there. Right, the next one's a crime one again. It's got the Albatross Crime Club, but this is licensed from Collins. But look at the state of it. The Fate of Jane Mackenzie. Now, because this is crime, ordinarily I would almost dismiss this book outright. But because it's a crime one, and it's an early one, I'm going to keep it even though it's in this very, very low grade, which is not my usual. But yes, we know the title. But it is Scarce, and I know I haven't got it. 1933. I don't want to get rid of it, even though it's low grade. So I'm just gonna flick through, see if there's any little corners like that I can bend back. But generally speaking, it is a low grade example. Very much a filler, but for all I know, I may never come across another one. I know of a few other collectors who are interested in Albatross and like to have a few as a complement to their penguin collection, because the ties are so close and so obvious, that they want a few to see where the penguins originated, as it were. But at the same time, I don't know anyone who's actively looking to collect them all at all. I just don't. I just don't think they're around that much. It would be a really, really hard job. I do know one person at least who's got all the Albatross Christies. And I got to admit, I was offered, I think 9 of them in dust wrapper. They were beautiful copies. I was offered 9 Agatha Christies last year. And it was, the guy wanted £100 each. Admittedly, they were beautiful copies, but I said, no way. They're just not worth that much to me. As much as your copies are very nice, that's too expensive. And I think I offered him maybe like 300, which even that was like really a bit over what I wanted to spend. But he didn't even reply to that. So there you go. There is only one mega money Agatha Christie. The rest of them, I would say, 25 to £35, say, for one. Maybe a bit more if it's in a really nice dust wrapper. The one that goes for the good money is, of course, And Then They Were None, or its original title, 10 Little You-Know-Whats. So that's the one in Albatross that goes for good money. Like, I have seen that sell for a couple of hundred, but the rest of them aren't like that. And people who think they are wrong. That is the one for its notoriety, the change of the title, and because I think, although I'm not 100% sure, that may have been the first time that book got put into paperback. I think it was, anywhere in the world. So it's the first worldwide paperback edition. So consequently, it is obviously sought after. It's as simple as that. But that's as good as we're going to get, that one, which is not great, let's be honest. But it's a crime one, and as I said, I just am very loath to get rid of it, because crime books are scarce in the Albatross library, you know. Oh, and it needs to go in the to be brushed pile. Right, what have we got here? The Vanishing Celebrities. This is a post-war one. Very, very worn spine. But let's see what it's like inside. There's quite a bit of writing on the front there in pencil. As long as it's okay inside, I think we should keep this. Yeah. 1947. So just a little bit inside, a little 10p. Most of the writing's on the covers on this one. So it's got a darkened spine, so it's not going to look that attractive on the shelf, sadly. But there you go. Right, so that's 6 there. We can't do anything with that. There's a little AG or something like that down the bottom. So we'll get that rubbed off if we can here. AG, I think that's what it said. There we are. And then the spine, as you can see, can't do anything about that. So that's as good as we're going to get, that one. Oh, it has got just the bottom of the spine here, actually. It's got a little bit of wear. Let's see. I think that's worth gluing back, to be honest. Now that we've teased it up a little bit. Put a little slither of glue in there. Hopefully that's enough to... We don't want to get in caught. Yeah, that's okay. What about this end? Yeah, that's the same, you know. You can put some glue down there. That will stop that bit getting any worse as well. Not going OTT with the glue. I've got to remember to order some more. I've got to get another pot of this pin flare. It's proved really good. This is my second bottle of it now, and it does last ages. It's just I've had so many books to repair lately and re-glue that I've really gone through it. But there we are. So the Vanishing Celebrities, that's all set for brushing. So that's okay. Bit of a rough copy, but we're not going to let that have a go at it. Now this one here, it's one I haven't got. But look, it's got no spine at all, I don't think. Shirley, what have you done? Yeah, look. There is no spine. Yeah, look, there's no spine underneath. So that, unfortunately, even though it's one I haven't got, there's nothing inside, there's no cards. It's not going to be a book that can be saved, I'm afraid. So, sadly, in the bin with it. State Fair. Phil Strong. This is one I don't recognise. Number 34. It's quite an early one. State Fair. A150. Oof. So it's got, look at this. This is really interesting. So it's got Italian lira, francs, and that's Reichmarks, German Reichmarks. How amazing is that? It really is quite something, isn't it? (1932). Yes, absolutely lovely this. That's really nice, a nice early one. Tiny bit of penciling on the back here, so we'll get this off. There is a book on the history of Albatross. It's the only book ever written on them. It's called Strange Bird. It's not written from a collector's point of view, but it does go into the history of the publisher and how the Nazis sort of shut it down. What's the only thing missing, and I suspect the author just didn't have it at the time, was a bibliography of all the Albatross books that were published. And I do have one that came out many years ago, but I believe it's the most comprehensive and the only one, in fact, that's ever been produced. Right, there we are. So that's that. So I'm going to take a small break now, but we're about a third of the way through. So this looks nice. Death Off the Fairway, and it's a beautiful crime one. This is perhaps the best condition crime one we've got today. There is at least one other to come, and I don't think it's one I've got either. Yeah, look at that. That to me is, classic crime personified in one book. A beautiful early edition, in between the two wars. A great title. Beautiful livery. All right, it hasn't got a dust wrapper, but that is pretty nice, that, isn't it? That's the sort of book that in Albatross, these are the ones that go for a few pounds, and you can see why, because they're just sort of magic. They've got a very distinct whiff of Collins Crime Club about them, these ones. They feel like the Collins Crime Club books of the period, those paperbacks. Yeah, very nice indeed, that. That's that and the Christie are two of my favourite books from this Albatross haul. So that's very nice indeed. Right, look at this, South Latitude. Look at the state of it. Just missing the bottom of the spine, including the number. Penciling on the front there. So let's see, can it be saved? What's it like inside? It's borderline, but because it's Albatross, I do allow a little bit more leeway because there's just not many of them around. I've never seen a signed Albatross. Never seen one in the flesh. I've never seen one for sale. Not sure if any exist at all. Right, so not the best of shape, but as long as we can get this pencil off the front, I think it's definitely worth saving. Big S on the front there, I don't know what was happening there. And I wonder, even in continental Europe, how easy these books were to find in bookshops, because obviously they're English language. Were they just aimed at holiday makers, English-speaking people's going abroad? Was that their sole purpose, or were they sold in a small section, say, in French or Italian bookshops? Who can tell, eh? But yeah, not the best, but unfortunately there's nothing we can do about it. It's as good as we can clean it up for that one. Right, another green one here. So we got Tiger Man, Julian Degood, number 54. Tiger Man. A little bit of pencil at the back there I've spotted. Evidently a little bit worn here. And pencil at the front there, look at that. August 1933, Arucus, Antwerp. Marie Hindenburg. Surely not. Is that the owner's name? Hindenburg? Is that Marie Hindenburg? That's quite an interesting little sort of signature there. And I think in this particular case, I'm going to leave it. I'm going to take out that 20p, but the rest of that I'm going to leave because it's quite interesting and I don't know enough about it. The fact that it says the Hindenburg, obviously, or does it say Marie Hindenburg? Was that the owner's name? It could be Marie Hindenburg, August 1933, Arucus in Antwerp, 28th of the 8th, 1933. That's what it looks like to me. So it looks like a previous owner's name, who happened to be called Hindenburg, but quite an interesting owner's name, that. So I think one which would be a bit silly to rub that particular bit out, but I am just going to take out the 20p because that's nothing to do with it. That's a modern annotation. That earlier one though, that's It's so unusual and very, very specific. I don't think I want to get rid of it. Now, what else? Tiny little bit of glue again, just where it's starting to come away. Just a little slither. Just to keep that from getting any worse. And obviously it needs, like all of these, a really good brush. It really, really does. And we'll be doing these outside because that will markedly improve the edges on these. But there we are. Marie Hindenburg, eh? Okay. Right. Burmese silver, Edward Thompson. It's got a little 341. Okay. 341A is what it says. And this is book 341. Okay. So nothing else printed on that little bit of paper. So whether that was from a bookshop or something like that, but it's nothing that the publisher put out. 1947, it's a post-war. There's a little 20p sticker in there, which is a bit annoying to me. Unusual to have a sticker on the inside page. It's covering up something else, like another price or something like that, I think. You know, I'm going to leave that there. I think that's going to take too long to get off, and it's only going to leave another price underneath. So I think we'll just leave that as is. I do think this is one I've got, in actual fact. I think that's going to be a double at least. So there we are. And then another copy of this. Look, we saw one of these earlier. So this is a double of number 310, the Asiatics. This one not in a wrapper. But there we are. So I've at least got one double. Somebody's address in 1960 had this one. Still Cottage, wherever that was. Sounds very Tweed, doesn't it? There we are, look at that. Lovely. Well, who'd have thought it? 2 copies and both pretty nice, to be honest. Right. 7 Against Reeves, Richard Aldington. On the face of it, a pretty poor copy. But we're getting used to that now. In fact, it's not quite off completely, but it's not great. There's a bit of pencil to take out. Okay, well, lots of re-gluing here to do on the spine. But we'll be okay with that. That's fine. That's a pretty good wedge of glue gone on there. And then we've got a little bit on the outside to do as well. On there. And hopefully that's going to get this one looking a bit more ship-shape. Inevitably getting glue on my fingers here. Another slither needed just there. Okay, I think that's as good as we're going to get that one. Lover's Leap. Is that a big 5 on the front? I don't think that's in, yeah, that's in pen, unfortunately. That's a bit unfortunate. Number 62. A vintage sticker on the back, which we shall leave there. I'm surprised we haven't had any more Albatross cards in these. That one is as good as it's going to get. It just needs a darn good brushing, so that's fine. So I'm just going to stand those two nice ones in dust wrapper up and start another pile of unwrappered ones. Right, an orange one, a thatched roof, Beverly Nichols. It's got a little, I think, 2 shillings or 2 something on the front. Yeah, shame it's missing the bottom of the number there. Little 18 something at the top. Yeah, number 49, and this is number 206, 1934. 206 at the top there. Well, it's a little bit grubby, but it's as good as we're going to get that one. This one really is rough looking. Look at this, Buttercups and Daisies. That is hanging by a thread. However, can it be saved? It's pretty rough, isn't it? I don't know if it can, you know. It's this spine. I mean, it's fallen to bits just by handling it at the moment. Very, the whole book is brittle. Well, theoretically it's salvageable. Very, let's save that bit there. Shall we try? Okay, let's get this little bit of pencil out first then. If this doesn't come off too good, I won't be saving it. But if I can get it looking as, well, what we got there, I think I'll have it as a filler. It is number 12, so it's an early one. And it's not one I've got. I'm sure I haven't got this one. So I am keen to keep it if possible. That is a bit of the spine. Right, so I think first of all, we'll try and get this bit glued back in. It's going to be a bit of a multi-stage process, this one. So that should hopefully be enough to get some of this going back in. Okay. All right. Right, Now, to delicately get a bit under there. And then we need to get some in here. Yeah, okay. Right, then quite delicate this bit. Okay. Now, this little bit of paper here has come off the bottom. So, see if we can get this put back in. Well, that's it. Well, we managed to re-glue it. A bit like the Barnick Man, I never thought it would come together as good as it has, to be honest. That's actually come out pretty good, all things considered. Now we just have to leave that to dry. But wow, that was a bit of a job, and it actually came out pretty good, that. Right, this is our last crime one by the look of it, and it's one I've definitely got, Najea Marsh. It's a post-war one, dyed in wool. It's got some foxing. Perhaps one of the few books that is quite foxed in this collection. Yeah, 1947. It's not all the way through, it's just the first, like, dozen pages. Oh no, it is actually all the way through, pretty much. However, it's Najea Marsh. The covers are actually quite bright, in all honesty, so yeah, I think someone will be quite happy with that one. And it is a crime one. Right, Kingdom Come, Rupert Croft Cook, 337. Looks like there was a big 6 or something like that in there. Not quite taken out properly. (1937). This must be towards before they stopped, just before they stopped. Yes, the damage is all on the covers, so theoretically we should be able to get that bit sorted. This is a 2-stage process again. Put some glue in the top bit first. And then we need an extra bit on the end here, which we'll try and fold out with the screwdriver. And that managed to, unfortunately, it took off a bit of the cover. It's a chance you take with this when you put on the glue, but I still think it's worth doing like that. Now down here, I'm going to get the bottom bit done first. Bloody big bit of binding there, a bit of old glue, which I'm going to take out. There we are. Just to put that down. It's not enough glue's gone in, I don't think. Give it a sec. Okay. Now this mess here, I mean, I think all we can do is put another little blob of glue on here. And see if we can fold it back. And see if it saved any of it. Well, not perfect, but I think just about it's going to save what was salvageable. There we are, another little fleck come off. We are dicing with death there, really. I mean, not a great job, to be honest. That it's not my best work, but I mean, I don't know. It was borderline whether it could be saved, so I'd rather save it than throw it. I don't really want to get rid of any of these, you know, because they're so scarce. But that was a tough repair, that one. Right, this next one, number 5, it's completely faded. Look at that. Rogue Herries. Absolutely, completely and utterly faded. I need to get some of this glue off the end of my thumb here. It's thankfully it just sort of rubs off like plastic. Right. Okay. So this one has got some very, very severe thumbing, but sunning. But apart from that, it's not too bad. 1932. Piece out the front cover there, which is a shame, but it is number 5. I mean, I think that's actually salvageable. You know, that should be saved, I think. Even though it's completely faded, I think it's of such a rarity that, you know, I haven't got it. First one I've ever personally set eyes on. Now, Burmese silver. Didn't we have one of these earlier? We did, yeah. Not in such nice condition as this one. Yeah, that's actually pretty nice. Yeah, I'm not going to re-glue that. Got a little 4 in there, but apart from that, that's a nice copy. Now a familiar author, and this is one I haven't got, D.H. Lawrence. This is a blue. I don't think I've definitely haven't got this one. Mr. Lawrence. He comes in and out of fashion, does D.H. Lawrence. 27. This is pretty nice condition, this one. Yeah, 1935. That's pretty nice, you know. Tiniest little bit at the top here, which would benefit from the re-glue. There we are. Yeah, that's pretty nice. Right. Half a dozen or so more. Now this one's in a wrapper, 243. Oh, it's got a little card in as well. Excellent. So underneath, once again, a beautiful bright copy of the Anteroom. Very, very nice indeed, that. Pretty much not a mark on it. 1935, look at that. That's lovely. However, the wrapper itself, yeah, it's got, I'm going to keep it because it's not too bad. It's just chipped on the spine and it's got sunning and or smoke damage. So we'll keep that dust wrapper with my little pile of dust wrappers. Hilda Dean was the owner of this book, so I'll put that with the wrappers. It's also got a card, but I believe it's the same one. Yeah, it's the same one we've seen before, which is a bit of a shame. There are some variants and different colours, but there you go. I'll pop that in with it. Look at that, what a beauty. What a little beauty that is. Right, number 13, the limestone tree. I don't know if this is in pencil or if it's in pen. Looks like it was in pen. Faded spine again. English bookshop in Luswain. Yeah, 1932, printed in Italy. A nice addition to the collection, even with the faded spine. I don't mind that. Right, number 247. And I think actually I'm just going to pause there and have another quick break. Right, Brief Candles, another one by Aldous Huxley, which is pretty cool, isn't it? Pretty cool indeed. 247. I think, you know, I might have this one. Maybe. A little 40p inside, so evidently this was sold in a British second-hand shop, I reckon, at 40p. A few little cover marks, but generally that's a pretty nice copy of that one. State Fair by Phil Strong. Is this is another one we've already had. So this is a duplicate as well. And this is a much better copy than the first one we did. Is it a... Yeah, it looks like a first from 1932. How fantastic is that? Really bright. Really bright. Yeah, so that's a really gorgeous one, that, isn't it? Superb. Right, what's this? Men Against Death. This is one of the purple ones, which I think they sort of called like thrillers, did they, you know? £30p. Once again, I can't imagine the person who started picking these up picked any up in Europe. It was all copies bought back by holidaymakers, I suspect. Number 45. Second impression. Look, first time we've seen a book which is actually a reprint. Second impression from 1934. Doesn't matter so much with Albatross books because any impression is worth having, you know. So I do save I make a note if they're reprints, but that doesn't put me off having them at all because they're still so scarce. I'd rather have a book, even though this is a reprint, you'd never know, would you? They still look like the other books on the shelf. The design is the same, and I just make a note that it's a reprint in my Albatross bibliography. There we are. Right. The next one is Silver, look, the Albatross Book of Living Verse. Now, I've got a hardback of this that came out post-war, but I suspect that this is the original version, that later hardback was kept in print. I think it's very, very popular, this one. This is a very worn copy, but it's the first one I've ever clapped eyes on. So I suspect that this is probably quite a rare one, but I don't know. I've never seen one in paperback, ever. Only ever the hardback, which is post-war. It's a huge book, as you can see. So let's see if it's the first. Yeah, look, European edition, first impression, March 1933. And this particular one was printed in Germany. And so they did get around a bit. Some were in France, some were printed in Italy, and as you can see, some in Germany. The pages of this are really thin. They're not the usual Albatross high standard. So consequently, there's a few turned over pages and what have you. But yeah, that's the first copy of that I've ever clapped eyes on. It's a silver cover, look at that. Really, really, really dirty top edges. That needs to be re-glued, of course. My gluing aim is getting worse as the day goes on. There we are, that's got that. It's got such a shiny cover, I almost feel like I could polish it, but I'm not going to. I think that might cause a bit of damage. But I suspect, even though it's not the greatest of copies, I suspect that is rare. I wonder if it had a wrapper on it. I wonder if it was ever issued in a wrapper, you know? But yeah, first time I've ever seen that one. Right, the next to last one, and once again, look, it's a double, the Asiatics. We have had this, haven't we? Number 310, yeah, we have the Asiatics. So look, we'll take off the dust wrapper. Oh, it's actually got a different coloured card for a change. There we are. The wrapper, well, it's just one of the flaps has just fallen off. It's too far gone. That's not salvageable, I'm afraid. But the book itself, we can re-glue that in a moment. This is that period when the books feel really nice in the hand. Beautifully well made. Absolutely beautiful. 1947. slither of glue along there. Like that. Now at the top here, yeah, it's really just a little bit of glue in there to try and stop that getting any worse. It's that bit there, and then fold that round to that bit there. If it stays in. That should hopefully do it. Okay, and this is the same sort of card, but it's a green one to go with the green book, basically. And they did come in different shades, the little cards there, which I really love. And then the last one we got is actually a hardback, and it's a hardback I've never seen before. Look at this, Norman Collins, London Belongs to Me, but it's got the Albatross logo down the bottom there. 1951, and it's numbered 583, and it's in a glassine wrapper, which was very trendy at the time. Look at that. That's actually plastic. So this is actually quite a rarity, I suspect. Look at that. Wow. You can clean these glassine wrappers, but the best way I've found to do it is in some slightly warm soapy water, if you can believe it. Underneath, though, it's kept the book pretty nice. The page edges have got, or the cover edges rather, have got a bit dusty where it's been unexposed, but this is in effect a hardback Albatross book. Look at that. One of the post-war ones. I have got one, and as I say, it's the Albatross Book of Verse. I did not know they did any others, because the Albatross Book of Verse you see quite often in hardback. It's quite common. That's why I was so pleased to have the original paperback. But this one I've never seen before, and it's quite the production, isn't it? So yeah, very, very pleased to see this one, because it was something I didn't even know existed. Now, I'm trying to think of the best way to clean this. There's no other marks inside. I think we'll give it the brush first in here. Okay. Then I suspect, you see this here, where the cover that we just looked at didn't quite protect it. I'm going to experiment ever so slightly, and I may be crazy, but I think it's worth doing since we're here, and it is the last book in the collection. I've got my duster, and I got my polish, and what I'm going to do, I'm going to put some polish on the end of the duster here. I'm just going to run that there over the edge here and see if it does pick up the dirt at all. Is that going to get it off? I suppose a little bit. It's got a little bit of it off. Not as much as I would have liked, to be honest. I think we may just have to live with that. The foxing and that. Sometimes I've seen that lift off on hardbacks. It's faded it a little bit, but not enough really, I don't think, to do it all. Do the little label there on the spine. I said really the only thing we can actually do is that dust wrapper, which just needs some, I believe, this just needs to go in some hot soapy water, and that, believe it or not, should come up quite a treat. Now it's very, very fragile, as you can see, so I'm taking a chance by cleaning it at all, but there we are, look. But it is also really, it's really mucky in that, and it spoils the book. But I don't want to get rid of it because it's so scarce. A glassine wrapper, they're just rare. So, well, 2 stages then, really. I'm going to go and give all those books a brush first, and I'm going to do that outside. And then I might give this a little soak in, and we'll be back. Right, well, I've got 3 piles of Albatross to give a good brush down to. That's what I shall be doing now. So I've washed the dust wrapper from the hardback. It did tear a little bit more in the water, sadly, but it's okay. So it's on the washing line. Hopefully going to dry, and I'll be able to put it back on the book. But it's not great, but it was awful. So let's get these brushed. So I have got a run of Touch Niche editions. Now they are also continental. They were around for a lot longer. I've got about 20 or so. I've only got 3 in my collection at the moment, and they're not a series that I've ever really gone after. However, there are some quite nice authors in there, people like G.K. Chesterton, for example, which are quite nice, they're quite collectible. The author, they did publish all of Sir Arthur Conan Doyle's books, but there wasn't a single one in there, which is a shame. I would have liked at least an example, but can't have it all, can we? Lots of dust coming off these. It's much safer for me to do this outside when I can, rather than in the studio. So the next step with these, while my phones are recharging, ready for the next video, I'm going to get these all catalogued onto my computer, and I'm going to whip up into the office and quickly compare the copies that I've got here against the ones that I've already got in my collection. Because, as I said, I've got a couple of people who've said, they wouldn't mind having a few Albatross in their libraries, so I'll see what I can do. I will capture a little bit of footage of the dust wrapper, so you can see it when it's back on the book, and I'll include that in this video. Hopefully I'll remember. And I think, looking at it now, I think it's just about going to be okay. I will capture a little bit of footage of it on the line so you can see it. But anyway, there we are. So I hope you've enjoyed today's video. Makes a change to Penguin, doesn't it? If you have, do please give the video a thumbs up. Do, of course, hit that subscribe button for regular vintage book cleaning action. And I shall see you again in 7 days with another video. Bye.